Alright, so in this video we'll talk about multiplying and dividing with inequalities. In this we have to really pay attention to negative values. And why is this? Well, if we take the simple example of 1 is less than 2, and we multiply by -1 on both sides, we get that -1 is less than -2. But we see that that is incorrect. So what happened? Well, we made 1 -1, and 2, which was larger than 1, we also made that negative. However, -2 is more negative than -1, which we would then need the inequality to say -1 is greater than -2. So, what happened? Well, we flipped the inequality symbol. The inequality symbol went from less than, which is here, to greater than, which is here. So we need to remember that if we multiply or divide by a negative, we must flip our symbol. Now, what I just showed you is not a proof, but it is, hopefully, what it does is make you a little bit more comfortable with understanding why we flip the symbol. Alright, so let's do an example which would demonstrate this. So if we had -2x plus 3 is greater than 9, what would we do? Well, we would solve this like any other inequality. We would minus 3 from both sides, and we would get -2x is greater than 6. So now this is when we would do what? Well, we would divide by -2, and since we are dividing by a negative, we have to remember our rules of multiplication or dividing by a negative value, that we would have to flip our symbol. So our symbol was greater than, but now becomes less than. And what does x become less than? X becomes less than -3. Now we would demonstrate this on number line by -3 as our main point. We would not include -3. We would show that by an open circle, and we would say all values less than -3 will satisfy our inequality. So let's check this. So we're going to check first by including a number not in our solution. So we're going to check with x equaling, let's say, 0, because 0 is not less than -3. And we're also going to check with x equaling, let's say, -5, which is less than -3. So if we throw in 0 in for x, we get -2 times 0 plus 3 is greater than 9. Now, is that true? Well, 0 plus 3 is greater than 9. Is 3 greater than 9? And we see that that is false. So we can see that one value outside of the solution is incorrect. It does not work. But what about x equaling -5? Well, that is in the solution. So this should work. But let's check to make sure. -2 times -5 plus 3 is greater than 9. So we get a positive 10 plus 3 is greater than 9. Is 13 greater than 9? It is. So we can see that one of the values within the solution of x is less than -3 works. Because one works, we know that all of them will work. Now, how will we write this in interval notation? Well, we have to remember that since the arrow is going towards negative infinity, our lower bound is negative infinity. So we have a parentheses, negative infinity, it never ends, comma, our upper bound, which is -3. Now, since our upper bound is not included, because it's only a greater than symbol, we need to use only a parentheses. If it was including the value -3, we would then use a bracket. But since it's not, it's a parentheses, and this will be our solution.